Hey everyone, welcome to this wonderful little something that we have put together to talk about samosas, chai, and of course .NET. So we're going to have fun. So this is the first time we're trying to do this, and bear with us while we figure this whole thing out together. So meet the other hosts, Rashmita and Vivek. So yeah, you all come in, and Vivek, you're muted by the way if you want to chat.
No, I'll let Rashmita to get started.
Cool.
So, good evening and welcome to Microsoft Reactor livestream event. We are starting a completely new bi-weekly series on .NET led by our speaker, Nish and Vivek. My name is Rashmita and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru, India. But before we start today's session, quick word on our code of conduct. That's important. So I would request all of you to please give a minute to read our code of conduct. The idea here is to be respectful of other people's views, be friendly, be patient. And yes, you can ask all sort of questions to all of us. You can start with samosa, chai, then come to .NET. So we are all open here. And it would be a fun session, of course. And yeah, I will not take much of my time and then straight away hand over to Vivek and Nish to begin the session. Over to you, folks.
Thanks, Rashmita. So, Vivek, so what's up? I mean, you're the person who's going to talk about samosas, I guess, right?
Yeah. So basically, I just want to introduce myself. By the way, so I'm Vivek, senior cloud advocate, cloud and AI engineering team of Microsoft. And Nish, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Nish, and I work on the .NET team. I specifically focus on the .NET community stuffs and things like that. You would have seen me speak at events, various events here, this side of the world. So yeah, more about me, my journey with .NET, and all those things a little later. But the whole idea about this whole thing that we have put together is to have a good time in the evening, like around 4:30. We want to grab our chais and of course samosas, which is one of the popular snacks out here. And I know everyone is trying to be healthy and fit and all those things, but there's no way to take away from this awesomeness of having a delicious dish out here. So we decided to kind of like come together and literally whatever conversation Rashmita, Vivek, and I we have generally outside of it in chat, we wanted to bring that forward and kind of like welcome you all to come in and chat with us, like questions, tech talks, everything. So this is completely informal. So if you are at work, feel free to keep your work on one screen, put us on the screen, and then just listen to us. That's totally fine too. But your involvement is very, very important so that we feel encouraged to do these kind of things more.
Yeah, I have three things to three stuffs to talk about today. One is obviously the samosas, which I have. I have samosas,
Oh, I got it
and
too.
and I do
Woohoo!
have chai. I just finished the chai as well. But most importantly, I have three ingredients which I
Do you
need
have
for
something
this.
like this, a glass like this?
No, I don't
Because that's
have
how you need
that.
to have Indian chai, right?
If I like the chakap and salsa. There are different kinds of people. There are different kinds of people. So
I'm just totally
I
kidding.
have all the three different ingredients today. One is samosa, one is chai, and Nish from .NET team to learn .NET. So which is great. So I just want to just ask you the most important question. Um, you know, are you a sauce person or a chutney person from a samosa perspective? Like, which one do you
uh,
like with samosa?
so Rashmita, do you want to answer that first?
I mean, do you? I mean, does do we have to ask the audience as well? Is
Yeah,
this
let's ask the
something?
audience as well. Let's
Let's
ask
ask the audience.
Sauce or
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Let me add you to the stream. Let's see what audience also have to. And by the way, you two, please answer the question as well.
yeah, I'm going to answer that. I'm just going to put this link. I assume this is the same link that we tried this
Yes.
out earlier, right? Yeah. So this
Yes.
is. I think you need to change this question,
Oh
Vivek.
yeah. Sorry.
That's a question that'll come to you later. So if you have seen a glimpse of it, then keep your answers ready for that one. Okay, so um, gonna
No, I think you
refresh.
need to refresh.
Okay, so there you go. So we are asking, do you prefer chutney or sauce for your samosas? And feel free to go ahead, go to slido.com, add in this hashtag. I don't think this hashtag, the 207149, and then put in your answers there so that we can take a look at it. Um, you know, so I'm gonna go to
You're gonna answer.
slido.com now.
You're gonna answer here.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer here. So let's do this 20. You know what? So this is how.
While
Um,
people,
um, So I'm going to keep it here so that those who were just joining who wanted to see it. So what you didn't add, Vivek, is to not have. You should have had one more option, which is none, neither, because I'm someone who would prefer something like that because
oh
I like
wow,
to
wow,
relish
that's a
samosas
mistake.
as is, not mixed with anything. Uh, but I'll just go with chutney for now.
Just go
So
for it. Just
that's
go for it. So
But
what
I
about
think
you?
I will go with both.
Ah,
you'll go with both.
not bad. What about our audience? Oh, audience are
Yes.
going
Yeah,
chutney, chutney,
yeah,
chutney,
we're gonna
chutney.
have a little more audience. So yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
you all can even comment on the YouTube comments as well if you're finding it
yeah,
difficult to go to this thing. So we will try to pull it up from there
not
as
bad.
well.
There are a lot of chutney people around.
yes.
I'm a sauce person.
You still haven't recorded your.
I mean, I created this question, so it should be
So
an
you
element of surprise to you as well, right? You know.
yeah. So I have Srinivas M saying he likes both, which is great. And none.
Wow.
Yes, I have another company for sure. Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for putting that.
man. I sorry,
None is a good
Kishore.
option. Yes.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't think that there will be a person who will not like both. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Cool.
Great stuff. So, while we are discussing this, I just want to, narrate my experience with samosa. You know, I was
Hmm.
in, I was in Surat, and I was doing a meetup there, and those were the days where in-person meetups were happening, and the community organizers had arranged snacks after the meetup because of the networking which we used to do after the meetups, right? So I remember that in Surat they ordered samosas, and there is one shop in Surat which is, I think it's called Simply Samosas or something, which is focusing only on samosas, and they don't do anything
Hmm.
else, only samosas. And I remember that they had an app to order samosas, and it's not like Swiggy app or Zomato app. They had their own app or something to order samosas, and that's
Nice.
how these organizers ordered samosas. It's very interesting, and this is in Surat, so which is an interesting story there. And I did, the and chai is also one of the thing, right? uh, there are lots of different varieties of chai, and
Yeah.
I don't know which chai goes well with samosas. And today, in fact, today I made an effort of trying and ordering chai from Chai Point. I went into app, Swiggy app, and tried to open the app and see all the different kind of chai. Then like, oh, you ordered from Chai Point.
I did because I love their elaichi chai and things like that. So for
Like
the show, I wanted to
there's
be
so much of options, right?
yeah,
And I couldn't create a question for audience because there was so many chais. I don't know, it would become difficult to fill in the form, right? So let's focus on that ways anyways.
I
So
think
Nish,
that's why they say that India runs on chai.
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's different varieties: lemon teas,
The,
ginger tea, I don't know, Suleiman tea. There were so
correct.
many
The
things.
interesting thing about chai is you go to different regions of India, you get different flavors, and some has water content more, some has milk content more. There are different things. The dum chai and things like that. Oh my god, like I love it all. Uh, so
So
cool.
So coming back to the .NET, you
Mm,
know, my experience always has been with uh, Python and Java. So I
okay.
haven't experienced .NET. Um, so I know about .NET, like it's a Windows. It used to be Windows and other things. And I lately I keep hearing about different things which is happening at the .NET and .NET framework. But I really did not spend a lot of time in
Hmm.
spending more time in terms of learning .NET. And now I feel there is so many things happening around it. I just want to make sure that I learn .NET and make sure I'm well equipped with it and upskilled on .NET, and I'm been working, get started with it, right? So Nish, can you just walk me through .NET?
Yeah,
Can you just
absolutely.
teach me how should I get started with .NET?
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you are excited about .NET, and we get to chat this. I mean, so again, to for all the people who are coming in, this whole thing started with an idea about Vivek is completely new to the platform, and how does he learn a new platform, a new language, and how does he scale? Right? How do we make him perfect? So the rest of the series are going to have a lot more stuff. So right now, the first one being it's going to be about what is .NET and how do you get started. We can start writing apps now, and then we can go into the details as much as we can with the obviously the depending on the time that we have, right? So you ask this question, Vivek, what is .NET? .NET is a platform to build anything on the planet now, because with .NET, you can build desktop applications. As you said, there's Windows that you talked about, which has been, quite popular in building applications for Windows. But you can also build desktop apps, including Mac. So you can build some really good apps for Mac as well in .NET. Then there's web, and web, there are a lot of web frameworks out there that builds on top. But we have something specific in .NET called ASP.NET, which is again a platform written on top of .NET, which specifically has APIs to build web application. That's like opening the port, listening as a server, getting HTTP requests, and things like that, right? And of course, cloud. So .NET is reimagined and actually has been built ground up for cloud. So it can be lightweight. It can scale fast, and it can do a lot more things, right? And using .NET, you can build mobile applications today. You can build iPhone apps, Android apps. With Mac Catalyst, you can write Mac apps. And gaming, if you all know Xbox and PS2s and things, using Unity under the hood uses C Sharp, and then you can build games for it. In IoT and AI, basically what I want to say, is like when you start with .NET, you can imagine a platform that you want to write apps for, and there are APIs for you to get started with, right? So, for example, like putting this all together here, the current version of .NET is .NET 5, and in a few weeks we're going to be in the .NET 6 world, which is the new version of .NET that's coming in, right? So considering Vivek is completely new to this whole thing, so I want to give you some gist of all these things, right? On the right side, what you see is the tools. So when you start building apps, you can start building writing it in a notepad, or you can start with an ID, or you can use something really really nice editors like Visual Studio Code, or if you're adventurous, you can start with CLI also, right? So you can do a lot of stuff like that. Now in .NET 5, if you look at under the hood, there is runtime components, which decide which actually have you know the libraries and instructions how you're going to run it. And you can choose a platform. On the top, what you see is a platform. So if you are building desktop apps, you can choose like you want to build with WPF, you want to build with WinForms, or you want to build with UWB. Again, different layers, and the choice that you make is based on your skill sets and what you're trying to achieve and things like that, right? And similarly, you can choose ASP.NET for your web. And ASP.NET has its own set of, it's an opinionated framework, it's a set of APIs, the way you would go and build web applications. And with Xamarin, that's how you will build iOS and Android apps too, right? And then there's gaming, IoT, AI, and all those things. And below this, there are like base class libraries and APIs that you can use across all these things. So that way you can actually share the code across. So it's a cross-platform and you can share your code and build applications for each platform. And the other good thing about .NET is that you can write it in a language of choice. Like you can write it in C Sharp, F Sharp, or Visual Basic, right? So what it does is any language, it compiles down to a common intermediate language, and then these compilers build that, and then they further give the instructions to build for whichever architecture you're going to build, right? So that's how this whole thing kind of works in terms of giving you a broader picture of what you can do with .NET, right? So yeah, so how do you feel about this, Vivek?
Yeah, I mean, the most important question I had here was, and I get asked this question as well most of the time when
Hmm.
I, talk about .NET, C Sharp
Yeah,
and .NET
yeah.
framework or .NET. Is it the same or is it something different? How do you put that?
Yeah, you said a couple of things. One, you said .NET Framework,
Yeah.
and you said C Sharp, and which are so C Sharp is a language. Okay, C Sharp is how you will use a language of choice. That it's something which you may be familiar with: C, C++, Java. If you come from that kind of a background, if you have any object-oriented programming background, C Sharp is going to be very easy to pick on, and that's just a language. And using that language and using these APIs specific for all these things, you will build an application, right? So .NET is basically a platform that is supporting under the hood for all these things. So you can have a language and a compiler on top of it. So what do you say? C Sharp is a language, F Sharp is a language, right? And then you compile down to IL, which further runs, and a .NET has runtime components which will run this IL into the platforms that it is targeted to, right? The other thing that you spoke about is a .NET framework, and they're different. And I want to tell you this a little bit. We have .NET framework. So everybody now whom I chat with who had like 15 years of experience, 10 years in the industry, and things like that, the first thing that it comes to their mind is, okay, .NET framework is a Windows only, and which is correct. .NET framework is Windows only. It was predominantly written to run on Windows. So imagine if you take an ASP.NET application, you use a C# language, and then you want to deploy your application, you would not think another place, and that would be just Windows, because that's where the .NET framework ran, right? Eventually, what happened was we wanted to go cross-platform and we wanted to go open source, and .NET framework was too tight to Windows and Windows APIs and DLLs and things like that. So we had to extract .NET out of that and make it open source, and that's what and kind of cross-platform. So that is when the .NET Core came into picture, and so you will hear the word called .NET Core often. That's nothing but a lightweight frameworks built ground up for a cloud-native world, and other stuffs, right? So .NET Core was built separately. In parallel to all these things, I work for Mono and Xamarin, so I'm very very kind of like proud of the team. And so Mono, so .NET was founded in, I think, around 2001. At the same time, Mono was a implementation on Linux, a similar .NET implementation on Linux, right? And so Mono team had actually went on building their own runtimes in the open, so it was already open source. And we had things like Mono Develop as an IDE. Then eventually it became iOS and Android apps and things like that, right? So when Xamarin team got acquired about 5 years ago, the entire teams came together, and the goal from there on was to unify .NET. So from now on, you don't hear much about .NET Core, is because we have decided from .NET 5 there would not be anything called as .NET Core. We will still continue to call it as .NET, and then put a version number to it. That's .NET 5. And every year you will have a new version of .NET, and we're going to .NET 6. So when you think of .NET now, you think of a unified platform where you can build for iOS, Android, Windows, IoT, ML, AI, cloud, web, everything. So in the past, in the history, we had framework that focused on Windows. We had Mono, which did our Linux and the other side of the world. Now we are just a unified platform that can you just have to think about, okay, I'm going to write an app for something. Say I want to write a Windows app, right? There's a new Microsoft Store which is really really cool with Windows 11. You want to write an app for Windows 11. You don't have to think twice about it. You just start with .NET and
So,
.NET 5.
there is one important question from the community. In fact,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just bring it up for you.
sure.
Um, it's basically difference between .NET and .NET Core. Is it only that .NET Core is for containerized solutions, and .NET is for WCF and WPF services?
Very very
From
great
Tarun.
question. Yes, Tarun. So the thing is, the way you have to think about it is .NET is .NET framework was predominantly Windows. So they were had Windows. So for example, whatever you see that WCF, the Windows part of it, right? Windows Communication Foundations. So they were all pretty much Windows only. So they had to work with a lot of APIs under the hood, which was Windows only. So .NET framework, we are not have adding any more features to it. So if you're starting fresh, you shouldn't start .NET framework. You should think of .NET. Now it's .NET. We can there were confusions with .NET Core and things like that, but now we call it just .NET. So you just start with .NET. If you're writing WCF, yes, because we don't have an kind of the way to write WCF in .NET, the cross-platform way. Uh, so either you can use, I think it is called Core WCF, which is an open source implementation of WCF, and you can use that, or you can move to something more modern like gRPC, right? And you can use that. WPF, you still can use it in .NET Core. So now don't think of .NET Core and .NET Framework. You think of .NET, which will work everywhere. So, and it's lightweight. And containerizing and all those things, yes, because as I mentioned, when .NET Core was built, it was built ground up for cloud to make it lightweight, work with containers, which I'm going to show you today, and things like that, right? So think of it that way. I hope I explained it well.
Yeah. Nish, can you go back to the slide which you were showing me?
This one, yeah,
Yeah, this slide. So you mean to say, from a mobile perspective, I can build iOS app, I
yeah,
can build the Android app, and Mac apps
yep,
as well with just the .NET framework which we have, .NET
yeah,
Core or .NET Core. I'm like just
yeah.
.NET framework, or I should just call it .NET.
.NET. Just call it
.NET.
.NET.
Just
So
call it
.NET
.NET.
framework is everything related to Windows only, and the
Okay.
new .NET is more cross-platform. It's
Okay.
free. I mean, so I should say this to you. I mean, in 2003, I guess, when I was in college, and at the same time, I was also going to a computer institute to learn computers, and I was learning Java and other things. And that was the first time when some of my seniors used to have this .NET that's just fresh out of the market. So they were doing this WinForms, Windows, they were just dragging and dropping things, and then building some really cool stuff. And I got really, really excited about this. And those days it used to be like around, I think 7 CDs or something like that. Like you have to install. There were 3 important ones, and then the rest were MSDN and things like that. And then we used to install that, and then I got a chance to try that out because they were licensed. They were Windows only. But today .NET is free, open source. It's been like you can just go download it and just run it, right? It's just as easy as it can get, which we'll see it in some time. As you asked about iOS and Android, so 10 years back, I went on to join the Mono team, the Xamarin team, because I was truly excited about building iOS and Android apps in .NET, and they were all native apps. It's not like something an HTML page in front and things like that. They were native apps because I was
Native
working with
apps. Yeah.
native libraries, and that got me really excited. And I wrote to the CEO, who is now the CEO of GitHub, Nat Friedman, and he hired me in, and I went on to work there. And then for 5 years, I actually did evangelism for Xamarin in APAC, and I did so many stuffs with. But then again, at that time, the other challenge that we had was Xamarin was also a paid product, so which kind of had a friction for people to get started and things like that. After we got acquired by Microsoft, it's now free. It's you can actually just, if you decide to build an Android app for something, Vivek, I think we should totally build that for Samosa Chai, just like the app that you're talking about. Maybe at the course of this series, maybe at some point we should start thinking about building something like that, and we can totally do it on .NET, and yet get the same performance and other benefits of the native apps. Well,
Fantastic. So from this slide, I get that there are tools which I can use,
yeah,
and there are different platforms. Which is, it could be if I have to build desktop, there is web, there is mobile, there is gaming, and if I have to build IoT and AI,
yeah,
and then there is .NET 5, which
hmm,
runs with the language, where either it is C sharp or F sharp languages.
yeah,
And then there are runtimes and compilers which goes through that.
yeah.
Perfect.
Let's go to
So I just
.NET.
got to, I just got to place where I understand this one.
See
And
this, the features. You see this. There's a
that's
web.
yeah.
So all these things, so Signal are, if you're building a chat app and things like that, real-time communications and things like that, Signal are microservices. This is my area. I mean, everything you see here is something which I PM on, and also the architectural reference guides that come with it. There's a very popular sample for microservices in .NET. So if you're getting started with Docker, Kubernetes, and figuring out how to do domain-driven design with microservices and all things, we have documentation for that too. And you can see this native apps, the language. So here they are the popular ones: C Sharp, F Sharp, Visual Basic, and of course from the community there were other languages. As long as you can compile to IL, you can basically build anything on top of it. So, and yeah, gaming, Internet of Things, whatever. Like think of it, you can just build it.
Got it. Got it. So the other, um, so why use .NET? It's that is one important question which I also had. If I have a startup, I know there is now, I can see there is couple of things I can do. I can build APIs, I can build web apps, I can see that there are web templates which is there from Blazor, which is
Yeah.
there, and then there is desktop things and language and everything, every other support I have. I mean, this is something like a buffet to a startup, right? Like you have
Yeah.
everything out there.
Mm.
And as a startup, why should I, if I'm building a startup, why should I, even choose .NET? Like, what's your view on it?
So yeah, there are many stories. I mean, performance is one of the biggest reasons I would say, because I think there is a customer called Reagan, which they were running everything on Node.js, of course, the popularity of JavaScript, and they started porting Node.js to .NET for just for performance reasons, because they were running API, API endpoints and things like that, which require high performance. And when they ported that, they could literally see, I think about they saved about let's go look at that. Like let's say who uses .NET, and maybe there's somewhere Reagan that I talked about. Let's say, oh yeah, there you go. So if you look at what they say is, so using the same size server, we were able to go from 1,000 requests per second per node with Node.js to 20,000 requests per second with .NET Core. And because .NET Core is cross-platform, it was running on Linux, so they didn't have to change their infrastructure. They didn't have to bring in a Windows servers to run .NET. They use the same infrastructure, and they got a better performance, right? So performance is one way to look at it. And of course, there are other things like, like why is JavaScript so popular, right? It's just easy, get started, you can just run it everywhere and things like that. C Sharp is a language like that. It's just easy. Once you get a hang of it, it's just like you get glued to it. It's just beautiful. I mean, I stayed here for 15 years, so that's something which I really really love about the language and and the IDE and tooling. Like Microsoft started as a developer tools company. Did you know that? They built the basic thing for the first time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then so it's that the number of experience that we have in building that, it's something which we improve on Visual Studio, VS Code, and things like that. So being a first party language in these kind of things makes it really really easy. And of course with Azure you can just make use of all the amazingness on the cloud as well.
While you were showing list of companies which
Hmm.
uses the .NET,
Yeah.
I just, while you were scrolling, I just saw Stack Overflow.
Yeah, right. if you
It's
are if you're
interesting,
good at copying and
this is
pasting.
really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, That is true. So Stack Overflow is built
This
on
is
.NET,
interesting.
and
Perfect.
Stack Overflow runs on .NET. So imagine if Stack Overflow was not performant enough, like the state of developers in this world, right? So I mean, you and me have to find other jobs, maybe, right? But anyway, jokes apart.
So if you're a
Uh, uh,
developer, you know where you're getting the code from, right? So perfect. So
yeah.
just go back to yeah.
Mhm.
So we have features here and everything. So Nish, can you just show me how to get started with it now, from a hands-on
Fantastic.
perspective? So let me see how we can take this into different different projects. Say for example, if I'm building for web, if I'm building for mobile, how do I get started?
Yeah. So let's start with something very, very simple, right? So if you go to downloads here, right? And now you can just choose. So if you, since I'm running on Windows, it automatically tabbed me to Windows. But if you came from Linux, Mac OS, and there are installer for the each and every operating system, and I would always recommend to use the current versions. Like LTS is long-term support. So the next version that is going to come, .NET 6, is going to be a long-term support. So if you are someone who's an enterprise developer, so looking for, I need this kind of support from the from Microsoft, then look for all these LTS versions. But so you just download the x64 version SDK, and it'll just install everything for you. For example, okay, let's get started here. Um, let me just, um, yeah. So once I install .NET, right, I now have just press .NET, and it gives me the
Can
tool
you
CLI.
just
It says
increase
zoom in.
the font? Yeah, zoom in, and also make it maybe full screen if you can.
Yeah,
So
I can
yeah,
make it full screen, but the challenge with that is like when we start doing the other things.
yeah, this
Okay,
is fine.
so
This is
this,
fine. I think
yeah.
this is amazing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's. So I was saying that .NET is cross-platform and things like that. So I'm not going to write .NET apps in Windows right now. We will do it later. So I'll open Ubuntu, and then let's start working in Ubuntu. Right. So if I just go and say .NET, so I have just gone through the same instructions, installed my .NET in Ubuntu, and you can see that this is running on Ubuntu. It's running on 20.0.4 version. It's a Linux, and it also tells me where exactly this is installed. So I'm using 5.0.4.2. That's the .NET SDK that's installed. Remember, I told you that it gives you SDKs and APIs to build application. At the same time, you'll also have runtimes to help your applications run as well, right?
Okay.
So let's get started. So I'm just gonna this is gonna be a huge directory. So I'm gonna create a new directory called, let's call it as samosa chai. Okay, now so we have anything here? Yeah. So let's go here. Okay, so there's nothing here. So to get just started, you can just say .NET and type new, right? Now what this, okay, this is to do with the, so I'm going to take a moment to just minimize this 1 minute and just kind of like show it this way. So in .NET, you get templates. You can get started with any template that you choose, right? So if you're writing terminal apps or console apps, you can start with console app. You can technically start with a console app and then build web application out of it too. It's just that you need to use the right APIs and things like that to add on. And there are other things like if you are starting with, oh, you know what, I want to build a web application with Angular, so you have a template to start. You're building a web application with React, you can start with React. Or you know what, I'll figure these things out later, I'll just start with a simple web
Simple.
template,
Yeah.
right? So then I'll just do what I'm going to do is I'm going to say .NET. Okay, now I'll just zoom in a little bit. .NET new, and then say web, and then I will just specify my output directory to be hello samosas maybe. um,
So so what is that language support? Is it?
yeah,
I see
you
that, and there is a C sharp and F sharp
yeah,
there.
by
Um,
default it is C sharp, so you can also specify
okay.
that I want to program this in an F sharp,
Program it in F
and
sharp.
the
Okay.
template will automatically give you F sharp for that, right? So
Hmm.
I'm not a F sharp person. I'm so much into C sharp, and nowadays C sharp have a lot of functional features too. So I find it comfortable here, right? So I just created a .NET new web output to hello summer. So what that output thing does is basically it just creates a directory there and puts all your code in there just to keep it simple. Or you can just remove that output thing and just and then it just creates it there. So what you get is basically a few lines of code. So that we'll go into the code later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say .NET and say run. I did not open the editor at all. I just said .NET run, right? So what this is going to do is it's just going to build the application, and it's a web application. Remember I told you it's a web application, and it's
Yeah,
just going to
exactly.
listen to it, right? So I just click on this, and what it has done is it's opened on the other window. So it just said, hey, hello world, right? So this is what it did. So let's
So
now go and say, mhm,
it just has a template already for you to get started. So all you need to
correct.
do is to fill in those things. Yep.
Correct. And open your favorite editor and open the source code. And then now we can start writing some code, right? So what this does is, so why this is taking long is because VS Code is actually remoting into it, because my VS Code is running in Windows, but my source code is actually in Linux. So it's in a mounted environment. So cool about the VS Code, right? Um, I mean, with code spaces and I think the possibilities, like I was just looking at the some of the announcements yesterday, and it is amazing time to be a
GitHub
developer,
Universe. Yeah.
right? Okay, so now you have all these files. Don't get intimidated by all these files. See the bin and object file. You don't need it. I can just go and delete it.
Can you
What it
just
is
zoom
going?
in? Can you zoom in there? Um,
Yes. Um,
so what
Fine.
are those files? Okay.
These files, these bin and obj files, are just like directories that it needs to compile your code and other things. You can actually go and delete it if you want to. The starting point is you see a CS proj. This is where technically you say what framework you're running on and other configurations for the project if you want to, not the application configuration, but whatever the project configuration that you want to add in. Like if you want to add a new package to this, you can add that here. So I'm using .NET 5, which is fine. And then what happens is, like any other language, you have a static void main method, right? Like a console app, you will always. So here is where we are saying, hey, you know what? You open me as a console app, but this is a web app. So this is where we built the source code to build, saying this is a web app and it needs a server to listen to. So all these wire up this code is going
Okay.
to do. You don't have to touch any of these things. So because you get this startup file, you can go to the startup.cs, and remember we saw that hello world. This was
Yes.
coming from this map get endpoint, which is the home point. Oops. And we are just getting the context and it's just responding hello world, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use some string interpolation, and I'm going to pull in some value from the environment variable. So I can just simply go and say environment dot, I didn't write it correctly, and OS version. Is it clear for you? Like, is it fine? Because I
Yeah, I
find it
can see
hard
that. I
to.
can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now what I did is I just said, okay, I know this is running on Ubuntu, but I really want to make sure in my app that I'm running on Ubuntu, right? Sometimes you may have code that you want to run in Ubuntu something, in Windows something, right? So I just wrote it here, right? Now, what I'll open is I'll open the terminal here itself, and then I'll just say .NET and say run. What this is going to do is it's going to build the application again. And now if I just click on this again, which is opening on the other side, and you can see that it's running from Unix
You
5.4, right? Pretty cool. So that was just very easy to get started with, the web app. Now you see there are things like configure services, configure. The reason for all these methods, and which you'll see it go away in .NET 6, it doesn't go away, but we can always work around with these things. Is ASP.NET is a very opinionated, and it gives you the dependency DI container by default. So you can technically have any class. You say this is my interface, but this is my type that I need for it, and you can initialize it here. And any part of the code, anywhere in the code, you can have a class and open a constructor and put an interface into it. It will inject for you there. So you don't
got it.
have to really pass on the variables everywhere. It will do all this magic for you. And the same way is what the entire ASP.NET request pipeline is made the same way. There's middleware, but there's DI, which is actually telling what to do, right? So that's why we use these kind of things, like use endpoints, and this is my get method, because HTTP has get, post, port, delete. All you can actually configure all those things,
So,
right? Now, mhm,
while I'm seeing this,
yeah,
I just, few weeks back, I was working on Spring Boot
okay,
framework, uh,
hmm
very similar to that. Yeah, when I
okay,
just download a template of web of Spring Boot, I can see similar kind of template. It gives you endpoints and other things,
Yeah,
and get started with it. So perfect. So I think this is great. And now you can also build this into containers and move it
we can
into
do that.
different.
Yeah, before we go there, let's do this. Let's run this on Windows, right? Let's take the same source code and run this. So I'm going to close this IDE because it was running on the this one, and let's exit the Ubuntu as well. And I'll go back to my Windows. So this is my PowerShell now, and I just need to go to the same path which was mounted earlier. And I think, yeah, there you go, samosa chai. So this is the same code, hello samosa, that I created. And now if I just open this in code, okay, before I open this in code, let's see, .NET version here, right? So here I'm actually running not on 5.0, I'm running on the 6.0 latest version. But I can run on 5.0 as well, because if I just say list my SDKs, and it will tell me that I have both installed here, 5.0.402. So this was not possible before in the .NET framework world, where .NET framework comes with the Windows and your application sits on top of it. So whatever is a framework version, it just works on that. Now you can have side-by-side versions too. Like your application can have run on 5.0, you have something else installed, that's totally fine. And the runtime also gets baked into your app. So you can have a single file exe, you can just copy to a USB drive, go to another machines and just run it. That also just works, right? Okay, so let's open this in Visual Studio Code now. So now it's the same code. I'm not touching anything. So you can go, let's go see the startup.cs. This is what I've written, environment.os version. So now you can see that it's not running on Ubuntu. It's running on my Windows machine. So no remote things. And I'll open the terminal here itself. And let's do a .NET run. Sure, it's going to open the browser on this side of the world. If I do that, let's open this. And yeah, there you go. So you can see that it's running on my Windows version, right? Same piece of code.
So this is a classic example of how it helps you work on different platforms. Same code, you can work on different platforms. So there is no need to change in the code. So you can
Yeah.
just
So
start it on different platforms. Is it?
yeah, little things I'll differ there is like, if it's a code that runs on every platform, it's the same code. It just works, right? Like the web and other things will just work. But there are situations where you might write a Windows code, for example,
Windows
very
code
Windows
and
specific.
different
That won't
versions.
run on the other side. So that's when you
Yeah.
split it. Okay, this is my platform. If I'm running in this platform, run this code, and that way you can also like you can write compiler directives to do that, right? Okay, so now now that you've seen the same thing working here, let's do another thing. Let's go to outside directory, and I will run the same code. Like I'll do the same .NET new here. See this? So now you see that huge list that we saw there, that's gone. It's there, but now it's like it just becomes the most important thing. What do you want to build? Do you want to build an ASP.NET app? You want to build Blazor? You want a class library? You can just decide. And if you were like, you want to build other things, you can also say .NET new and say list, and it'll give back all those old ones as well. Like you have all the other templates too, right? So what we will do is we will execute the same thing, right? .NET new, and this is samosa chai. What did I name the other one? Hello samosas. So now
Hello.
we'll just name the new .NET new, and then web app same, and this time I'll go give hello chai maybe, right? The same. I'm going to build the same thing. It's just that it's going to be in .NET 6, and hello chai, and let's open this in VS Code. So now when I open this in VS Code, you see that there's no startup.cs that we used to have, right?
Yeah.
That's not there. What happened? And now look at the code. It's just like 6 lines of code, right? Oh wait, let's cut down the lines of code as well, right? Let's remove all the spaces, right?
So
And
just
and
four.
let's take this thing, put it here, and remove this. So now that's just 3 lines of code. Vivek, do you think it's going to work? Of course, it's going to work.
It
It's a
should.
template.
If there's an error.
No. So let's write the same thing here, which is
Yeah.
say dollar and string interpolation. Do you remember what I wrote last time?
Environment .os. .os
So,
version. Sorry.
so now let's build it, and .NET run to this. Right? So what we did is, okay, something.
It was
Right?
fine.
I just made the case mistake. So you can see that it's automatically detected the port that it is, and it's like you see that it's running on Windows NT. Same piece of code, much faster, and and just few lines of code. Now, what we did here is we want to make it easier for people who are getting started. So we had all the ceremony code already there in the .NET 5. You can always write it that way. Under the hood, it's doing the same thing. But now we don't have that main method. It's not starting at the main. It's just going top level statements and just going and doing it sequentially, right? So you can a lot more things you can do. For example, let's make this this open API specification that we have to know, okay, what are the things that is
Yep.
there, things like that. So let's create open API specification in .NET, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this code and put it again here. And instead of just putting my version there, I'll just go and say I need an endpoint with version, and here I'm okay with using the OS version, and let there be just hello world here, right? So now what we did is we quickly created two endpoints, a home page which says hello world, and then when you go /version, it's going to create environment.os version. So if I just run it, it's going to work. But what we're going to do is we're going to add, because we're building kind of like APIs with the REST APIs where people can send a query for information. We can write open API spec for it, like Swagger document to define your API. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a package. So in .NET, you add a package like this: .NET/add/ space add package, and I think it is swashbuckle, right? And it's called Asp Net core. I just added. So what it's going to do is we have something called as NuGet.org. It's very similar to your package managers like Node, npm, and Maven, and things like that. So this is where. So if I go and search swashbuckle, so you can see that this is ASP.core. This is what I actually brought it down, right? So this is the
So
package manager in .NET.
just I just want to understand what is this this site. It is more of the equivalent to the Python packages or modules.
npm. Yeah, exactly.
NPMs.
So
Yeah.
where do
Okay.
.NET developers go find somebody else's code which does a lot of magic, which you want in your application, right?
So just take
So
that and import it.
yeah, yeah. So you have this. So what I did is basically I added a .NET. So if you are using Visual Studio, there are really nice tooling around it. Like you can go search within Visual Studio and things like that. But I just wanted to show you to do with like CLI, just like any other programming languages, right? So now that I have Swashbuckle added, so what it is doing is, if you go to the CS project, remember I told you about where you will add all your packages? See, this is what it did. It basically said it's a swashbuckle.ASP.NET core, just added here. And so now you have all the libraries that you can use within that application, right? So I'm going to copy some code because I don't just want to save some time. So so I'm going to say builder.services and add endpoints API Explorer. Now the builder is not an object that it can detect, so I need to go back to the code that we had it before. So what are we going to do is call this as builder, and I'll just type in builder here. So I'm just going back to the code. So now you know why we have that there, right? So remember we had this configure services method where we had this dependency injection where we configured everything. So instead of you configuring it, you can also have some helper extension methods written by these library providers. So you can just simply call that and they will do all the DI thing for you, right? So that's what we did. We just said builder services or add endpoints API Explorer, so which basically enables this app to be explored based on the APIs available to it. And then we defined a Swagger gen document. And then now I'm going to do is now we need to tell the HTTP pipeline that, hey, there is a Swagger request can come to you. So how are you going to handle it? So we want the Swagger to work as well. So then I'm going to write some 2 lines of code, which is app.use Swagger, which actually enables Swagger, which goes and probes. And then I have the Swagger UI, which is that beautiful UI you always see at any REST endpoint, which you can uh, define, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say .NET run, provided this all works well. It shouldn't, as usual.
There was
Let's go
some
see errors. Yeah,
14
it's at 14.
lines.
Cannot
At the top,
modify service collection after application is built. Okay.
at the top it said 14th
Yes. So
line.
this is wrong. So what we need to do is once we create that, because it's DI, right? We need to make sure that it's doing in the right order. So let's do this again. Now it's just working again, and let's open this URL, and let's again open on my other link. So you can see that this is hello world, and let's see
Okay,
if
go
I have
flash
a,
version. Yeah.
and there you go. There's a version, right? There's a version, and there's a thing. And now if I just say Swagger at the end of it, see that? Within no time, I had the Swagger endpoint configured to my app, right? Pretty cool, huh? Are you
It
impressed
was
so
very
far?
fast. It's pretty fast to get this setting done, which is great.
Awesome. So you know what? Let's do this. Now that we have this OS version, I don't know why do I do this OS version all the time. So let's do another thing. Let's containerize this application. Let's make it cloud native, right? So I want to make sure that Docker is running here. So I have this Docker. See that Docker is running there. So in VS Code, we have really nice tooling to just if I
Yeah.
just search for Docker, it says add Docker files to this workspace. Say okay, and then it detects, okay, which one do you want to use? Of course, I'm using ASP.NET Core, and then choose the operating system, right? I can choose Windows here, but I want to choose Linux because now I can place my .NET app along with your Node.js, Python, and any other app inside your Kubernetes service, right? They're going to run in the same infrastructure. So just choose Linux. 5000 is fine. And I'm not using multiple services right now, so I'm just ignore the Docker Compose file. So what it did, it actually went ahead and created the entire instruction set for Docker to build this application, correct? I can explain this whole thing, but there's a nice video that I put together, not because I did it, but there's a nice video that my team helped me put together. So I will encourage you to go check that out, getting started with microservices and things like that, right? So that explains what are these Docker files and what are these instructions and things like that. But for now, let's go and run this application. So instead of going to .NET Core, now I can just say Docker Core, and then, sorry, Docker. .NET Core is the runtime that it needs. So now just running this, and what you're not able to see here because of this highly impossible to read font system is that it just went ahead and created the image, and you see this, it just ran. It now ran on some other port, which is, of course, it's a Docker port. I can prove it to you if you have some doubt. See, there's running on port 49154. And the other way to prove that to you is go to the version and see that. Now we are running into the 5.4.72.2, which is the Unix version this runtime was using, right? So
Visual
that was
Studio
pretty easy,
Code
right?
makes life easier.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was so easy to go back and just create the same code, convert it into a Docker. I mean, containerize it, and you just run it in a Linux mode. It's
Yep.
it all fits together, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it gives me that like really nice confidence in, like, if my customer comes and says, I want an app in, all the platforms, I want to do all these things. Yeah, yeah, of course. So, we know .NET and C#, so we can make that happen. So, yeah, any questions you have so far? How are we doing
No,
with
I'm
our
pretty
audience?
clear.
Did
So
we bore them?
you just go and install, .NET, and you have different command like create with .NET new, and just create
Mm,
it, and you have a template, and you just go back and make sure you provide all those right set of code and call right set of NuGets which you have, and
new
then
gets.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
NuGets, sorry, and
Yeah.
then you just get started with it. So, and then obviously Visual Studio Code gives you all the kinds of facility to just containerize it, and
Yep.
in Azure you just go back and put it in container registry, and you're ready to scale your application.
Yeah, exactly. And now we can do like some other things as well. Like I can go to Visual Studio. I mean, this is my favorite IDE on the planet. It's really, really amazing. And you can see that, whatever I did .NET new, you can do exactly the same things with same templates, same things. You can do Blazor, which is a new way of writing, UI for the web. It's pretty cool. So if you're building, say, web applications with UI, and you don't want to do JavaScript, then I think Blazor is a nice way to go, because what Blazor does is you can write C sharp and totally avoid JavaScript. So we took even C sharp to the browser. Like you can literally write C sharp everywhere.
I definitely want to deep dive into that.
Mm,
Hopefully in December, we're going to discuss about Blazor itself in deep dive session like
I
this
can quickly
during a
show you, by
demo.
the way.
Yep.
Let's. Do we have time? We have time, right?
We have 10 minutes.
Another.
We have some pretty good questions.
Okay, let's answer
Which is
questions.
also,
Let's. We
yeah.
can we can. If anybody wants to see writing an Android app or writing a Blazor app, just ask us in the chat, and then I'll show you right here. And I don't have Android uh, emulators right now. I mean, I do have Android emulators. And I can make that work as well. So if you have questions, ask. If you want to see that, yes, let's do that as well.
So there is a question from Anup on the what is the purpose of version other than LTS version?
Good question, Anup. So the thing is, you know, technology is really, really fast moving, right? And at the same time, enterprises, not every time they want to move at the same speed. So we always have one version that gives you a longer time support, right? So if you are in .NET Core 3.1, we have a longer lifespan of support, so that if you are an enterprise who don't want to move immediately, you can always be on the LTS version, and the next version you can just skip and go to the next version if you want. So that way you get longer time to keep it. And what we did is every alternate release of .NET will be an LTS version, or every even. So for example, the .NET 6, which is coming here in another 2 weeks, is going to be an LTS version. The previous one, which is the .NET 5, which I'm using right now, is just the current version. And the previous one is .NET Core 3.1. That is an LTS. So if you're on 3.1 and you didn't move to 5.0, you can keep it. You can just keep it a little more further and then move it to another LTS version, right? So just gives you a longer time for support.
Perfect. Nish, we got 10 minutes.
Yep.
If you can show us Blazor app, I'm
Blazor app.
pretty
You didn't
excited
want
to
to
see
see
that.
Android app? Okay.
Android app, it's okay. I use
Okay.
iOS, so
So
yeah.
yeah, the thing that got me excited at that time, I used to have Android, and the fact that I was able to program an app with the skill set that I knew, and I didn't have to. At that time, there was only Java. Kotlin came in much more recently, along with Swift, right, for the iOS. So, um, I was able to do that quickly, and that was really, really fascinating. And I just built apps for like fun, yeah, things that I could, some timer related apps, like productivity apps and things like that. Very quickly, I could just build it. Anyway, talking about Blazor. So let's talk about Blazor. So there are multiple ways you can build your web UI. So Blazor is one of them. So I'm just going to say Blazor and click next. So you can see that I'm using .NET 6. Configure HTTPS is fine. If I want to enable Docker, I can just click right here, and what it's going to do is it's going to add Docker file automatically for your projects. So again, so here's my Blazor app, and you see that everything in .NET
Can you
kind of.
just
I'll do that. Yes,
zoom
increase the
in?
font, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Right. So you can see that the usual, the services creation and add server pages and things like that. The beauty of this is, let's run this, right? So what this is doing is it has this wwf root folder where all the static files are there that just gets rendered. Just 1 second. It's all okay. Let's see what exactly. No, no. Let's do that again. For some reason, it crashed. Okay, there you go. So I have this app that you're seeing here, right? See this click counter? So now this code, you would be thinking, oh yeah, I can just write that thing in JavaScript, right? But this is not written in JavaScript. So if you go to the pages, index.razor, so Razor pages are nice, which gives you this dynamic page where you can actually write in, C sharp code along with your HTML and things, JavaScript and things like that. So here's where, okay, this is the index page where it was the survey prompt and things like that. We have this counter.razor. So you see this. This is all HTML, but within the HTML, there is a click method called onClick, which is increment count. And you see this. This is all C sharp. You may think it looks like JavaScript. No, it's not. It's actually a C sharp. And so if I just open hot reload on this, and let me just find the browser where it just got rendered. Where are you?
The other one.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's go to the VS and then put this on here and put this here. Right now, I can just go say plus equal 10 and then save this. And when I click on this, you see that it is going counts of 10. Right. So this is all happening in C sharp. It's not JavaScript. So if you are like me, you don't want to do a lot of JavaScript and kind of like maintenance becomes headache, you can write everything in C sharp and it's blazing fast. And the way it works is, remember I don't know, Vivek, do you know the times when we had Ajax, where asynchronous JavaScript and XML? It
Yeah.
was so beautiful. Like, when you start writing the code and then just goes and renders in the servers and comes back, it's a similar technology here. So the code is going back using SignalR, and it is getting compiled there and this coming back, and it is as amazing as any other UI framework. And you can also use WebAssembly. When I start Blazor, I have two options. Well, I can start a WebAssembly or a server. This is nice because this has a backend like server where you can write the code in server, and you can keep the things in one place. But in WebAssembly, you can have the entire thing in local, like it is working on the browser's WASM, and so entire .NET is going to run inside your browser. So those are really amazing ones for situations where you're building static apps and things like that, where you just want everything to be run on the client servers from the client's machines and things like that. Yeah. So
For everything there is, what I see is, out of the blue there is a template for us to get started, and
yeah,
after that you just keep coding and build all those features and other things, and you can just keep going on top of that. And by the way,
absolutely.
there are a lot of questions which has come in. I just
Sure.
want to push a couple of questions to you.
Yeah.
There is a question on from Manjunath: is Blazor an alternative for web app?
So
What's your
it's not an alternative, I would say. It also depends on what you're after, right? If you are someone, a C sharp developer who don't want to write JavaScript, but you want to get the same performance, amazingness of .NET, you want to share code, you can start with Blazor. It's as simple as that. But if you're someone, you just want a web app, I have Angular developers, I have React developers, I want them to do it, right, the UI side of it. I mean, nowadays it's all single page applications, right? It's all at the end of it, and everything is connected through APIs and things like that, and web servers are only serving this page and things like that, right? So then you can actually choose a React template. So it's an option up to you. So what we did is we have ASP.NET in the hood, and over that we built really amazing technologies like Blazor for you to get started and then explore that. So if you're someone in .NET, you need C sharp and not write JavaScript and want to share code and things like that, Blazor is amazing.
Perfect. So there's one more question from Deepak: how the code base is running in .NET, as you showed that there is a no main method. So,
Yeah, so it's all
yep.
the magic that we did behind the scenes. So it all does implicitly. So it is looking at program.cs and saying, okay, now that you're actually wanting to write without a main, so it is taking that thing and then going instruction by instruction. So it can get complex. I'll tell you, this is for someone who's just starting off, right? And then just want to quickly make applications or cloud native apps and things like this, very small, and you can just manage it. You can do that. But if you really want to take the power of design patterns, right? You want DIs, you want to separate the concerns. You want to have controllers. You have other templates, so you can use that as well. Like, you can go back to that and have, like, for example, you want to have more control with main methods. You can do that too, using that older template too. Yeah.
So there's a one more interesting question from Manjunath. Maybe this maybe we can even extend this discussion in our next session as well, which is on
Yeah.
the recap of .NET Conf, which is going to happen. So what we can expect from .NET 6 from
So
Manjunath?
yeah, so I'm actually working with the team to help put together an amazing demo for the .NET Conf keynote. So I would encourage all of you to just go and check this out. Like, go to .NETconf.net, and then it's just coming in 12 days. .NET 6 is going to be released the same over here, and it is really beautiful. Like, with C# 10, top level statements, minimal APIs with ASP.NET, amazing improvements in Blazor, amazing improvements in Maui. It is really going to be magical when you see that demo. And later in the .NET Conf recap session, we will dissect that out, and I'll show you how we built that application itself, right? So don't forget to join that too, like, where we'll go into the depth of how did we build this, like what are the things that we considered and things like that, right? um, yeah.
And there is Sai Kiran's question. Folder structure like MVC in .NET Core. Some context on it.
um, I'm trying to understand the question here. You're looking for a folder structure like MVC in .NET Core. So yeah, you can actually go. So you don't have to start like this. If you are someone who's looking for MVC, MVC is very opinionated as well. Like, so you can say
There should be
.NET.
an option, right? When you create
Yeah,
.NET
yeah,
New, there should be an MVC option.
yeah.
Is
It
it
is
not
there.
there? It's
Yes, it's
there?
there. So
Okay.
you can start with. So I'm just trying. That's exactly what I'm trying to bring in. You have an option to start with MVC. So you have the same MVC styling. Where is it?
Yeah, I saw that. There it's.
Yeah, there it is. So you can
Yeah.
actually use MVC to build. So if you're someone who's looking for model view controller pattern, use the MVC template.
Perfect. So, for people who are here, there is a couple of links which I've shared in the chat. There is even check-in link where you'll find a couple of important learning links for the session which we did, and there is learn modules which we have handpicked for that. So go back and do the check-in, get the links, and please submit your feedback for the session so that we can just keep improving the session for you. And there are a couple of learn modules also I've shared, and if there are any questions, just keep posting. And Nish, I've just got a hold of the .NET, and that's something which I will start from today installing and other things by the end of this Samosa Chai series. I think
Uh-huh.
we should build an app and maybe order something, maybe
Write a
order
real app.
something from our app, and probably people who join in can get something out of that. So that's something which we will plan it out anyways. And we have .NET Conf recap session, next session, which we are doing on November 18th. After that, there are quite a bit of amazing session, amazing guests who are going to join us in this learning sessions which we have on Blazor apps and on Maui. So we're going to learn a lot of things, and it's going to continue. Any questions you have, just post it in the chat, and we are happy to take. We can wait for 5 more minutes. Otherwise, we can all go back and have our own samosas and
I was
have
just
your
waiting
own
to
chai.
have it. I was just having to.
Yeah. Any questions? I'm just waiting there. Let's give it a 5 minutes for people to ask questions. So while we wait, people
Mhm.
can take a look at it. You. I mean, we can also run a survey. Like, I mean, let me bring up the questions again. You want to refresh that?
Yeah, sure.
Let me bring that up. Okay, latest version of .NET.
So let
Let
us
me
know who are
see.
all watching still and are with us. Go ahead and vote for this. Go to slido.com 207149 and let us know what you think is the latest version of .NET.
I'm also posting the link here so that people can go and let us know.
You got one vote.
There might be
Cool.
more people.
Yep, yep. I
Okay,
think the,
there
the
is a.
challenge is if people are watching on the phones or something like that, then to move to Slido and then type in maybe an issue.
You can
So
also
you
put
can
it in the
also,
chat, by the way. I mean, we can pick it from there. But there is one question, Nish.
yeah,
I heard about one project name, Tire, and much information I heard about that.
yeah.
I
So yeah, Tai is basically a tool that kind of like brings in, especially if you're building microservices and things like that. You'll have Dockers, Docker build for multiple projects and things like that. And Tai can actually, pull things together and run it. So Tai is not part of the .NET. It's an external tool, so you can go ahead and install and make it work. But it's not GA; it's still in preview. So try it out. Help us if you're working with that. Yeah, help us be successful in that.
So there is one question on the microservice side of it, and I would like to just give you an information on that, Srinivas, is that yes, we are also doing a 12-part series from Jan, and in Samosa and Chai show itself. So please do join in. It's going to be complete microservices, building microservice applications and containerizing, Kubernetes, a
Yep.
lot of things we are going to work with .NET. Uh, do join in, but yes, Nish,
Yeah.
just for initial, to make sure that he gets his hands dirty. So what do you suggest for Srinivas?
So, Srinivas, I would suggest you to go to YouTube, search for .NET, and if you go here, somewhere there's a video that I actually, there's one. So I'll just put this in. So this is beautiful me on the screen. So you can take a look at this video. This will give you a good, insights into it. How do I share this? So I'm going to send it to you
Yep.
um,
No worries. I'm
here.
I'm going to share a very
Yeah. So with
interesting link.
this, there's a linked learn module called ASP.NET-microservices. Uh, so, we built this entire thing. So click on start, and then, you can just get started. So first two modules, you can do it locally. So building your first microservice with .NET. And then this is deploying to Kubernetes. And the rest of the things are completely on AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service. So you can start a CLI and then just run it, all these things. So you can see how you have to do resiliency, how do you do instrumenting in the code, how do you use feature flags and things like that. So give that a try. And this is really, really great if you're getting started with microservices, because it starts from really, really starting with Dockers and Kubernetes, though it is not needed for microservices, but it gives you the advantages when you go with that. And then eventually you'll start to understand, okay, where does the microservice really make sense, and you get the bigger picture and things like that. So give it a try, and I am sure you will like it.
So let's give it a 2 more minutes,
Yeah,
and we can
we can
end the
wind off,
session. Wind
and we
off
can go
today's
back to
session.
eating samosas. I haven't
Yes,
opened the box because even the smell
I
of it
did.
can be distraction to me. So
I did open. I did open the box,
that's good.
and
I was
I
hoping
just
that you
wanted
will
to.
be having it, and I'll have to look at you having the samosa and then do the demo. Uh,
Yeah, that
but
would be a distraction. That would be a distraction.
but we should encourage everyone to get samosas and chai maybe from next time, so we can really have a nice chit
Yep,
chat.
perfect. Cool then. There are no questions. You can always reach us on our Twitter handles. It's up there on the video, and do reach us out. and if you want to chat with us or anything. But thank you for join us back after the .NET Conf. We will have amazing samosas with great content, with all the announcements of .NET 6, what you can do, what are new things, and other things. We will learn a lot of stuff. Thank you very
Thank you
much,
so much.
folks, for joining
Yep.
in. Thanks, Nish, for joining in. Bye bye. Take care. Have a nice evening.
Bye. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye bye.